Hi, everybody. My name is Bobby Harrington, and I'm super pleased that I get to interview Tim Foot of Slingshot Group. Now, Tim, before you jump in, I just want everybody in our audience to know just a little bit of background about you. You are the president of Slingshot. You are also on staff at LifeBridge Christian Church in Longmont, Colorado. Yeah. And your lead pastor is Matt Hessel, who's a Renew Learning Community leader. And we're so grateful to have the relationship with Matt. Of course, you and I know one another a little bit through the church, some through a mutual friendship that we have with Nate Ross at Northside Christian, just outside Louisville. And then we've had lots of talks about disciple making and discipleship. So I just want to say thank you for partnering with Renew on our job board, jobs.renew.org. You and I were actually, I don't know if you remember this, but we were talking a lot about I think you called it the Great Resignation.
Oh, yeah.
That was happening. And I was telling you that I get emails, sometimes 2 or 3 a week, people asking me about finding staff who would be aligned with Renew. Right. And so behind the whole idea of jobs.renew.org was the idea of, hey, let's make a theological filter, one of the filters for churches and for ministerial candidates, because then you can save a lot of time. Right. And sometimes it's not like you're ideally matched theologically, but hey, we can have conversations around this now. Yeah. So thanks so much for that, Tim.
Well, Bobby, thanks for having me today. And I love it that we've got that connection personally at a local church level. You know, I love what I get to do leading Slingshot, but I always tell people my first love is local church, which is why I still like getting my hands in the dirt on a local level and being on Matt's teaching team and seeing the alignment with Renew, but also just what you're doing to become an online community where the right leaders can connect with the right churches. Because at Slingshot, we're about healthy culture and leaders thriving, however that happens.
Yeah, that's so great. And just so everybody knows, Tim works with lots of evangelical, even though he has a home church and his own persuasions, he works with a broad spectrum of churches. In fact, Tim, let me just jump right in. So it's been about 2 years that we've been into COVID in North America, and you have the frontline seat to staffing issues. What are you seeing?
Well, you know, I think it's interesting looking back, Bobby, at the shift that was actually going on in evangelical churches in America coming into COVID that was simply accelerated in major ways. I mean, people were wanting a more authentic expression of church, less franchised, more about community. I think that's why multi-site has really struggled during COVID, more about growth, more about discipleship, less staff-led and more staff empowered and inspired, if that makes sense. And COVID revealed all this. Suddenly churches are scrambling to reach their people digitally on one hand. And so it pushed the digital revolution, I think, 10 years ahead of where it could have been. And then resorting to just using the old-fashioned phone to call their people in their church and just check in on each other. I mean, we've got mega churches where staff are just picking up the phone and calling people to check on them. People needed what, Bobby? They needed connection. And so you fast forward to today, and there's a greater need for community and disciple making, which is a different skill set than the average leader pre-COVID. This is what you're seeing. And there's fatigue in so many people needing renewal, refreshment, support, and leaders are looking for different things in their vocational choices.
Oh, that's good. Hey, Tim, why do you call what you've observed over the last 2 years as the Great Resignation?
Well, I think that's more of a marketplace term. I mean, if I've in my role, I'm getting the blogs every day, you know, Forbes, Fast Company, Hustle, all of that stuff. And you pick up the Washington Street Journal, what you're going to get articles on what everybody's calling the Great Resignation. Why are flights delayed a lot? Not just weather anymore, staff. Why is service slow to happen in a restaurant? Staff. Everywhere people are struggling. I'm filling up my car with gas at Kroger's, and it's like it's on the little screen there. Help wanted. It is everywhere, and we're finding in our area of recruitment, even though we don't like to refer to it that way because we see ourselves as ministry partners because we love building teams, but we're saying hiring is harder than it's ever been. Churches need us more than they've ever needed us because it's so hard. And it's just people are making different life choices because of what was revealed during COVID.
Hey, Tim, let me just jump in here. Did I get it wrong? And I don't want to put words in your mouth. Did I get it wrong that there was a great resignation going on in many churches in the country?
Oh yeah, it's mirroring marketplace.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that was happening pre-COVID. That certainly wasn't. It's mirroring marketplace right now, and I believe, Bobby, it's going to boomerang. Notice the Australian reference there.
Yes.
I believe it's coming back around, but I don't think it's going to go back to the way it was.
What do you mean?
I think we're going to have a different narrative about why you want to serve in the church. Right now, we staff every area of ministry, and we coach leaders in every area. And it's different when you're looking at an executive pastor or a lead pastor. But when you're looking at a student pastor, you can earn more than what a lot of student pastors earn working at Chick-fil-A or McDonald's right now.
Yeah.
And they can and they need people, and that can be a mission field and it not take over your life.
Yeah.
And so we have to be telling a compelling story about why you want to serve on the front lines of ministry.
Oh, that's great. So, okay, if there's this again, my word, but a secular word or expression, the Great Resignation, and then it's a boomerang, but people may be attracted to ministry. In fact, they need to be attracted for more, I would argue, holistic reasons. Are churches having trouble finding people to fill these staff positions?
Absolutely. And it's two things. There's not as many people to choose from. And secondly, it's knowing what ponds to fish in, and having a realistic expectation of the skill level of the people that you're hiring. Because it used to be, we would present a round of candidates as the staffing partner, and churches would go, we like these people, but we actually, let's see who else is out there. It's not that way anymore. We have to encourage and counsel our partners to lean in to whoever we show them, because it's what we call a candidate's market. And we're seeing more than ever before we get down to offer stage with a given leader or a given candidate, they've got multiple options on the table and they'll pass on the opportunity.
Wow.
Now, Bobby, I've got to say, we've got a number of values that define what we do and who we are. And the first one is spirit-led. So I do want to say we still believe God is leading this process, and we still believe it's his church, and we still believe he's going to staff his church. But we have to have a different mindset in how we engage in the process.
Yeah.
And Bobby, when we're starting a partnership, we talk about it now. We're not just partnering with you for a placement. We're partnering with you for a process, because it's a process that we're going to go through to get to the ultimate end goal.
Okay, good. All right. So if I'm an elder or I'm on a search team with a church, in fact, I'm thinking of some friends right now in a church near where I live who are looking for a lead person. What are some things that are important to them that they need to bear in mind
as they're looking for a lead person?
Yes.
It's definitely clarifying mission and vision. And you and I both know leadership rises and falls on clarity around expectations.
Yes.
And what you're calling a leader to. It's looking for the holy work that God does, where a leader that comes in and their mission and vision as a leader matches the mission and vision of the church.
Yes.
It's realizing that this is going to be a long process that you engage in wholeheartedly, and it's something that's going to require a lot of commitment and a lot of commitment to prayer in the process.
Yes.
And then when you get your senior leader, it's elders and boards caring for those leaders and being able to translate that in the interview process, that they are going to care for their leaders, asking what they need, what they see, how they can support the vision and mission God has placed on the leader's heart that's coming in. Elders and boards are focusing a lot these days. We're seeing a trend around them focusing on the minutiae of ministry, like the details. Maybe even think about it this way, Bobby. Elders and boards seem to be flying at a lower altitude than they really need to be or are called to be in the local church. And it's getting back up there again and allowing the leader and the staff to lead, to trust the leaders that they're bringing in, to communicate that trust in the interview process, to trust the leaders. The leaders that are looking towards a new frontier of ministry in the post-COVID reality. Too many boards are trying desperately to get back to what was.
Yes.
So they're looking at getting back to the number they were pre-COVID. But it's more about looking towards what God has for us now in this new reality.
Yes.
I mean, more than ever, Bobby, I believe that the hope of the gospel in America today is the neighborhood church on mission, making disciples.
So, Tim, let me jump in here with something that I think is important. You were talking about mission and vision and kind of a future vision and mission that would be attractive. I want to get to theology, because one of the things that I think is happening and being revealed is the breakdown in the theological foundations in the broad evangelical world and in specific tribes. And so one of the things that we feel really strongly about, as you know, is a theological foundation. And so that's why jobs.renew.org starts off with, hey, how are you, or where are you on these theological pieces? Now, my belief, and I'd like you to react to it, my belief is that if we can establish that there's a theological alignment, that's really crucial, because, you know, it's easy to get people who have a mission and vision about making disciples, about doing great things, but actually there's a fuzziness on doctrine that over time is going to come up. Talk to us about that.
Well, I think, you know, you brought up boards and you brought up eldership, and sometimes you will have an eldership that is actually a little fuzzy on what that is.
Yes.
And so I believe renew.org can give them a real sense of clarity around that. And I think that's such an important piece for them to lean into in the interview process.
Yeah.
Because you don't want it to fall apart when it comes to that theological foundation. And, you know, we talked before, leadership rises and falls on clarity around expectations. And having that true north and that foundation theologically is so, so important in the process. And that's why I like, Bobby, what you were doing with jobs.renew.org. Did I get that right?
You did.
Good, is because it gives a foundation and an online community piece to meet and to make that connection. I always say to potential partners that if they don't need us, God bless them, because God is moving quicker than perhaps they thought he was. I think this is a tool you can put in churches' hands, which can be really helpful in getting clarity. And if they need a higher service touch or a national search, then hey, they know where to go. We'd love to have
that's why, Tim, especially knowing you personally and the process you're committed to. And by the way, neither you nor anybody can make sure that everything always works out just right.
Right.
But I know your heart. I know you're committed to this because you really believe that leadership matters.
Absolutely.
And so if people can't find somebody, and they've done all they can on jobs.renew.org, they've networked, then they can say, hey, we should call Slingshot and see if they can help us. Now, we just got a few minutes left, so I want to hit you with a couple of things real quick.
Yep.
How can we, as church leaders, help raise up more church leaders? You know, Jesus himself said that the harvests the fields are white for the harvest. Pray that the Lord would send forth workers. And if I'm getting you right, and several other national leader friends of mine right, there is a real lacking in developing and enough workers and leaders for the churches. So what do we need to be doing, Tim?
We need to have healthy churches, Bobby. That is so, so important. Healthy churches with a healthy staff and team culture. And I know that there's going to be all kinds of shapes and sizes of churches watching this and engaging with Renew. There are going to be churches that have one staff member. There are going to be churches that have 30 or 40 staff members. But and I've served in lots of churches of different sizes. But whatever size we are, it's about having a healthy culture of leadership that tells a compelling story of why local church matters, Bobby. You know, one of the best marks we can leave on the kingdom at Slingshot is a whole bunch of healthy churches that are raising up leaders from within. I'm not concerned about whether we're going to continue to do staffing, because in God's economy we are. But I really, really hope that we can help coach churches and organizations to be healthy, to raise leaders, whether they come out of Bible college or whether they're coming from the marketplace, to work out a way to have residencies and internships where we can be a farm at local church level. Yes. That promotes leaders from within. You know, at Slingshot, we've got a great company culture, and we love that to rub off on the partners we work with. I grew up from within our organization, and that's a wonderful thing to be able to do. So, Bobby, what I would say is clarity around what we believe in, theology, mission, and vision, clarity around the fact that our first job is disciple making.
Yes.
will give us a healthy culture to call people to, a healthy narrative to call young leaders to, because you know we're in danger of losing a whole generation right now.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're really focusing on the disciple making piece, because really what we want is a culture where disciples of Jesus, genuine disciples of Jesus, make genuine disciples of Jesus who make disciples of Jesus.
Absolutely.
And to raise the bar on disciple making disciples in the cultures of our churches, that we say that that's the norm. You're just going to raise up leaders.
Right.
You're going to raise up people. We're fortunate that at our church, almost all of our staff were raised up from within. Now, we made sure they got the theological education, because I think that that's a crucial thing. But I just want to say amen to what you're saying.
Bobby, can I add something really quickly there?
Yes, you can.
It's not unusual for us to walk into a situation where a church has asked us to be their staffing partner, to go on our discovery visit, which we'll always do, and identify somebody internally that can do the job. And they can't see it because they needed outside eyes to see it. And that's so important that we always be looking at who God has brought to our table, first and foremost, and how we can develop them. And when culture needs to change, shift, grow, and get more healthy, that's when you look on the outside.
Oh, that's great. Well, Tim Foot from Slingshot Group, thank you for this conversation around jobs.renew.org. We want to encourage everybody to go there and check it out. And Tim, thank you for your partnership in this website with us. And thank you for all the conversations we've had and for your advocacy of disciple making. God bless.
Thanks for all you're doing. You too. Bye-bye.